listener, and welcome to Book 2, Chapter 11 of Bite-Sized Tales, the audio flash fiction podcast. In today's story, we continue the serial of Darius Tale. Shattered Crystal, Darius' Tale, as told by Wylan the Wanderer, minstrel and tale-teller of much renown, from Caharan. Part 2. Written and read by Chris Hussey. My friends of the evening, this wine is delicious, is it not? Innkeep, I bestow upon you the compliments of Artalis, the traveling god. Good keep. If there is any wanderer of these lands that would know a good wine, it is Artalis. But we are not here to speak of wine, despite how pleasurable to the palate it may be. We are here speaking of young Darius of the Spirit Guard. When we left the neophyte, his eidolon, which is to say, the warrior spirit that resides inside his body, assisting him in his training, took control of Darius's actions in the training duel, and was possibly about to slay his rival. Something that we all should know should never be done. Well, with my cup drained, let us now continue the story, shall we? Darius knew he had failed. He'd allowed the eidolon too much access, too much control. Darius's vision began to blur. The fearful look on Lisbeth's face was smearing into something wholly unrecognizable, easing the discomfort at the thought of taking her life. Time appeared to stop. With this mess of his mind, Darius struggled to resume control. His instinct was to try and force his will upon the eidolon, but he dashed that thought just as quickly. That wouldn't work. Darius wasn't strong enough. Reason was his only option. If you use my body to take Lisbeth's life, we will never escape the walls of the keep. I'm but a neophyte. They will strike down my body, leaving you with nothing. You will once again be trapped in the nether, denied the peace you so desperately seek. Darius used his inner voice to speak to the spirit. He felt the eidolon's grip lessen. While I care not of your body one way or t'other, you speak the truth. Know this, my young charge. One day you will embrace my power outside these walls, and that is the last you will see of your poor soul. Darius felt the tendrils of the eidolon's control loosen their spectral grip and slink to a deep part of his inner being. His defenses came up, locking the eidolon within its mental cage once again. And who said I desired peace? It spoke defiantly as it was locked away. Darius gasped, stepping away from Lisbeth, who shot to her feet, not wasting the opportunity. She turned on Darius in an instant, shoving him and fixing him with a menacing glare. "You fool!" she spat, turning away sharply and returning to the circle of guard members which stood, staring at Darius. A woman stepped from the crowd and into the circle, pointing at Darius as she addressed the rest of the gathered knights. "Who can tell me why Darius defeated Lisbeth?" Darius looked toward the woman. Denelver was his senior commander and leader of their squad. She'd served in the order for years before being assigned to Darius and the rest of his squad mates. He'd heard many tales about her, but none were more grim than her losing all those under her command during the schism within the order 15 years hence. Some did not believe that tale. Others did. None dared ask. Denelver stood tall, her dark brown hair cut short and holding tight to her head like a helm. Her mottled gray eyes bore an intensity that was augmented by the trio of scars that cut at odd angles across her face. "He cheated," shot one comment. "He was lucky," came another. "Lisbeth held back," was a third. Denelver turned toward that last voice, keeping one hand pointing at Darius while raising the other to point at Lisbeth. You are half right. Darius gave his Eidolon too much power, came another voice. Darius knew who it was. Lisbeth. And there's the other answer. Lowering her hands, Denelver walked and surveyed the group. And here is the dilemma you will always face when you are tested in combat. You can play it safe, as Lisbeth did. Perhaps she did this because she knew this was a training exercise. Perhaps she bore other reasons. But if you always play it safe when you are beyond these walls, you may find yourself not long for this world and your service to the Order. She raised a scolding finger. There are many a danger we face, even more so since the schism. The threat to our princess, this keep, and our order is very real. Denelver spun, fixing her eyes on Darius. Which brings us to the other half of the answer. Taking that risk with your Eidolon, it is a tricky and tenuous dance, yet it is a dance you must always be leading, even if it appears you are not. In doing so, you forge your path towards being a truly great knight and paving the road to freedom for your Eidolon, and giving them the chance at redemption should they wish to take it. Denelver stepped in behind Darius, placing both her hands on his shoulders. This is what Darius chose to do. He ignored the fact that this was a training exercise, most likely because he was angry that Lisbeth might beat him. Again. The squad chuckled, while Darius grimaced at the remark. And while he did emerge the victor in the contest, he was almost defeated by his Eidolon. If you watched the contest with your spirit sight, you saw how much control in the fight young Darius ceded to his spirit. Had he not won the second battle to contain and control his Eidolon, I might very well be standing over both the bodies of young Darius and fiery Lisbeth. A few murmurs spread through the group. Denelver's eyes narrowed. And quite likely Darius would have killed several of you before his death would have occurred. The murmurs stopped. Denelver clapped her hands and gestured deeper into the keep's courtyard. Enough for today. Attend to your mounts, your weapons, then to the hall for dinner. Sleep well tonight. Tomorrow, we leave these walls on a mission. The circle started to break apart, and Axel stepped forward. He shook a hand through his dusty blonde hair. Commander, where will we be going? Denelver shook her head. If I told you now, that would take all the fun out of the mission. Darius turned toward his commander to ask his own question, but Denelver was already walking away. Switching his gaze, his eyes landed on Lisbeth. Her glare was still firmly in place. Darius stared back for a moment, then moved toward her. Guilt swelled inside him. He didn't want to apologize, but he couldn't stop himself. I'm sorry, Liz. For almost killing me? Is that why you're sorry? I wasn't going to kill you. Darius heard himself say the words, but something inside him spoke to the possibility of that being a lie. He didn't like that feeling. No, you were going to kill me. I saw the look in your eyes. There was no doubt. Anger flared inside Darius. He knew it was his Eidolon reacting to the verbal barbs. It wanted to emerge from its prison and finish the fight. Darius covered those feelings with the love he carried for all those in his squad. The two emotions mixed into a confusing slurry that brought forth a flippant response. There must have been some doubt, otherwise this would still be stuck in your throat. Darius rested a hand on the pommel of his practice sword. Lisbeth's eyes flashed rage. This is not over. Not by a long shot. Darius felt himself becoming annoyed. His tone became harsh. No, it is. When we're on that mission tomorrow, I'll be watching out for you just as much as I'm watching out for anyone else. He stepped in closer. And if you don't, you'll not only bring disgrace on yourself, but the Order as well. And if that happens, you can damn well be sure it will be over then, because one or all of us will be dead. Lisbeth stared silently at Darius for what seemed like hours. It was broken when she silently turned and walked away. Darius massaged his temples, taking a deep breath. In time, he made his way toward the stables. In the deep recesses of his psyche, in that blackness, His mind's eye saw the gold and lavender wisps of energy that he knew was his Eidolon. Tuning in his focus, he swore he saw the wisps turn into a fiendish smile. Well now, I am quite happy to see that our hero has not killed anyone he loves. Yet. But what is this mission? Where are they off to? And if there is not trust between the mates of the squad, how will they find any true success? Well, clearly the storm is not seeming to let up, so perhaps we should continue this tale. Maybe some more wine first, and some of that delicious goat's cheese to go with it. Author's note. There's really not much more to add beyond what was said in the first part. This is just a continuation of the story. I'm hoping that you're liking it and hoping that you're sharing it with your friends, this and the other episodes. Thanks again for listening. This chapter of Bite-Sized Tales has been brought to you under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Intro and outro music is Fantasy Motion by Alexander Nakarada, provided under a Creative Commons 4.0 license. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, we greatly appreciate reviews and recommendations to your friends. For more information about our authors, please visit bitesizedtales.com. We look forward to reading to you next time.